Hello, welcome to the Citrus Garden. My name is Christina. This is the extended for the Virgo reading that I've already posted, so go check that out first if you haven't already and come back here. So Virgo, we're getting right into the second part of the reading, which is how can you shift your focus in this situation? And we have here the Trust and Sweetness card, which I love so much together. This Trust card talks about, well, first of all, trusting yourself, right? Like trusting yourself that you can get through sort of any challenge or whatever it is that you're stepping into, especially if it's something new that you've perhaps not experienced or it's just unknown, that kind of thing. It's like trust yourself, you can get through it. You have all of the tools that will allow you to pass through. But because it's also coming through with like a couple of the other cards, there may be another person in this dynamic with you, Virgo. And this card, the Trust card, talks to me about the third energy that's sort of created between you and another person when there is trust or when there's a relationship, right? It's like you have your own energy, the other person has their own energy, but between the two of you, a third energy is created that is independent of both of you as individuals. And so that third energy allows for quicker sort of manifestations because it sort of clears the way for the things that the two of you want to achieve together is kind of how I see this Trust card. And I feel like here there's also, I've been watching this show called The Peripheral on Amazon Prime. And there's so much interesting sort of like synchronicities in that show for me. But one of the ones that was really interesting was this element of trust between sort of an army. I don't know what the proper word is, like a battalion, I guess, or like a small group. Like there's like a group of old friends who are part of the same army group, whatever that word is. I don't know what that word is. But they have sort of this technology implanted in their in their nervous system, I guess, that allows them to sort of communicate with one another, like non-verbally, right? They can share information, they can share what they're seeing, they can share physical sensations even as well. And there's sort of that element of like, when there is trust between two people or a group of people, you can have almost this like shared energy, if that makes sense. There's something there about that where I feel like that's what you're being asked to focus on, is trusting in, especially if it's like with another person, because there's all of this sort of like mirror reflection kind of energy of perhaps you're like entering into this new stage with another person or something like that, where it's like you're really needing to trust the connection, right? To trust that sort of like nonverbal, energetic kind of link that the two of you have that is not visible, but it's also independent from the two of you. So it doesn't carry sort of all the personal resistance. It doesn't carry any sort of this fear energy that either one of you will have. And it sort of allows for sort of this forward movement to sort of happen naturally, is kind of how this card is coming through. And then here with the Sweetness card, because you also have here the Ecstasy card that came out. And so I feel like these two things are related, of almost just like focusing if you're having sort of trouble, because this is all very like simple is how it's coming through, that with the sweetness of like sugar and how it's associated with pleasure, there's a direct link that when we eat sugar, the most simple sort of brain chemical reaction is just pleasure, right? Because there is benefit in that. And so it's kind of asking you, Virgo, to sort of focus on the most simple kind of pleasurable reactions perhaps that you can have in this situation, because I feel like the complicated sort of thoughts or emotions is coming from the fear. So if you focus on sort of the simple, happy, pleasure emotions, that will help to sort of move you forward. And then here you have the teachers and the deja vu, which is so interesting because there's all of this like sort of mirror reflection kind of energy, right? Okay, so for the teacher's card I always think about as being, well, it's all of this sort of like, look at these cards together. It's incredible. Like all of these sort of like joining together could be, but the teacher's card also talks to me about like you learning from somebody, but if that's true, then they are also learning from you, right? That's sort of kind of like there, it's never sort of one person is like, there's always a reciprocity kind of relationship between you and others, right? Whatever you learn from this person, they are also learning something from you. If it's always going to be that dynamic. There's never sort of like one person's a teacher and one person's a student strictly. It's always going to be reciprocal with all of this. So it's like it's perhaps one person in this dynamic is having to go through something that feels like fiery, like perhaps with motivation or passion of some sort or energy. The other person may be going through a challenge of material or physical sort of challenges or something like that. It's like that might be what the lessons are. Like one person is learning something from the other in terms of fire energy. The other is learning something in terms of physical reality or something like that. I'm not sure. With the deja vu card, what was coming through with this? Oh, it's this card. When I saw this card, because this card came out in a Taurus reading, the last Taurus reading I did, which I'll link above if you're interested. And so I was originally using a different tarot deck, but because of this card, I wanted to use the Muse deck because of this card, which actually came out today. Like I purposely used the Muse deck to see if this card would come out because of this interaction between the two cards, which I found so fascinating in the Taurus reading, of like these two cards creating a waveform, right? It's like they're actually supposed to go this way, right? With the teal shoe and the teal wing sort of being part of the same. Because I feel like for you, Virgo, there's this element of like, with this moon energy, with the ecstasy, it's kind of like, in order to experience some sort of like pleasurable sort of ecstasis kind of energy, you almost have to experience first the fear or the opposite of whatever this ecstasy moment is, because that's the only way you're going to know what this energy feels like. It's if you experience the opposite, right? There's this song by Jason Mraz called Life is Wonderful, I think it is. And it's just talking about that whole thing is like, you can't polish something unless there's dust, right? Like you need to have this sort of dust energy in order to actually experience the other end of it. Just so incredible. I feel like there's so much more here with the Hanged Muse as well, because I always see these cards as being this Hanged Muse with the Six of Voices, right? Like how similar these are. It's like it's almost like you're passing through a very sort of not difficult, but they're challenges or obstacles that may trip you up, but it's almost like you're flying right over them. They're not even affecting you. You're on almost like a different level, or like your vibration is higher than whatever these obstacles can do, or like they're not pulling you down basically. And so it's like you're just flying over them is how it's coming through for you. With this deja vu card, what the message that was coming through with this card today is like deja vu being you're experiencing something in your physical reality that perhaps you saw in a dream, right? And so I feel like what this card is talking about is like if you've had a dream or vision or something that you experienced in sort of like meditation or the dream state or whatever, it's like it's now arriving in your physical. And so it feels like deja vu, because it's something that you've experienced in a more pure energetic state already, if that makes sense. And I feel like that's what perhaps it's telling you to focus on that, because it is arriving is basically what it's talking about. And then here you have the Nine of Voices, which is all of this energy. It's like oh my gosh, with the hands, right? It's like you pulled in something in your sleep state or in meditation, or when all of this sort of there's less resistance when you're sleeping in your subconscious mind. There's sort of no resistance, no sort of monkey mind activity that sort of will tell you lies, basically. And so you can pull in a more energetic or pure state or vision of what is coming, perhaps, let's say. And then here, with the hand sort of being open now, it's like this energy that you pulled in this state is now arriving in your physical, right? It's like something that you can see, something that you can touch, you can feel. With all of this sort of that's what this is. I feel like that's what this is. Something energetic is arriving in your physical, and they're kind of like overlapping now. They're overlapping, or they're it's simultaneous. It's an arrival of something. And here you have, like this. You have the Ace of Materials and the Hermit. It's all of this energy. The Hermit being like sort of seeking enlightenment or being in the meditative state, but it's like this thing is here in the material, the Ace of Materials. Also with this Faith card, these two cards are so linked as being part of the cycle, right? It's like you thought you were at perhaps like a different stage of the cycle, but it's almost like the cycle's restarting is kind of how... It's kind of like you went through this cycle energetically, perhaps, or if it's like you were trying to manifest something and trying to see what the next steps would be. It's like, it's almost like the cycle is restarting, but now it's starting in the physical, in a material way. I don't know how else to describe this, the physical as being, because for me the astral realm or the non-physical realm is also like a very real place with its own rules, with its own sort of things to manifest. And so I see those two as being very different, almost worlds, right? Different worlds, different things, but it's like this one is arriving in the physical realm, if that makes sense. And I feel like we often sort of prioritize this one, or like we try to focus too much on the manifestations in our physical realm, and then we neglect the manifestations, if you want to call it that, or the development of the spiritual or the astral realms. Perhaps, Virgo, you were doing the opposite. Perhaps you were manifesting too much in the astral realm, but now it's like something is arriving in the physical, and it's kind of like throwing you for a loop, perhaps. Anyways, so here we have the Ace of Voices and the Empress, which I love so much because we have two aces in just this section. Ace of Voices is but it's like looking back, right? This card came out in the Leo reading as well, of like looking back at something. It's that energy of like you think that you're at an earlier stage, but you're actually much further along than you think. It's like you're much further along than you think, especially with this Empress as well. I guess I love this card so much. It's one of my favorite cards, period. It talks to me yesterday. It also came out in the Leo reading yesterday as being the underlying energy. But today, and I kept thinking about that reading that I did yesterday, because I wanted to do the next one, but I just sort of like took a break, to sort of let the energy unfold as it would, and just wait for the next one. But what I was getting yesterday after the reading, what was it? It's like you have the ability to create worlds, or it's something like what it is that you created in perhaps the spiritual or the astral. Like if you think about sort of that whole Abraham Hicks like idea of like the things in your vortex, right? Like all of sort of the intentions and the energy that you put out is stored in this energetic vortex, or or whatever it is, this energetic sort of world that's separate from the physical world, right? It's like you can imagine that you have a huge, beautiful house in your spiritual realm, even if that's not yet true in your physical, but it's like that's what's arriving. There's something from your spiritual manifestations that is arriving in your physical shortly, very soon, imminently, and it's asking you to focus on that, because I feel like there's going to be some sort of like, this Empress yesterday was talking about like taking on a new role or a shift in your identity, perhaps, that may be new or different or unexpected, something like that. There's some sort of unexpected, perhaps gift, blessing, manifestation that's arriving in your physical that you are being prepared for. And it's kind of like waiting at this mere reflection in order to step through it. I have no idea what that means. Okay. The last part, where is an area of growth? So we have 3 cards here, which I love so much. Confidence, strength, and determination. Like I can't even make this up, right? It's like all of these cards are, you're being asked to really focus on controlling that monkey mind that perhaps will tell you lies or like things that are untrue, that says like this is not happening or this is not real or it's too good to be true kind of energy. It's like, get rid of all that. It's not important. Have confidence. You need to use your strength and the determination that whatever happens, all of this, because with look at these 2 cards together, the determination and the Hanged Man, right? With this like, any sort of challenge that you may encounter that may be presented to you, because you're at such a like a high vibrational energy, it's not even going to seem like a challenge, is kind of how this is talking about. You're just going to pass over them with ease and with sort of this perspective. And I want to just say, it's like, I just keep wanting to bring these 2 cards together. I don't know why. It just, there's something about this that is just so high vibrational for me. I'm not sure what that energy is, but anyways, here we have this card, the Nirvana and the Reflection. Both of these cards came out in the Leo reading, so I would actually check that one out as well. But what this is talking about is that sometimes the smoke, or the smoke just representing sort of an end of a trial or an end of something, an end of perhaps a difficult kind of experience. Sometimes the smoke, once that difficult experience is done, can feel more real than the actual experience of it. So I feel like you've ended something very significant, Virgo, and are about to step into something new, but it's like you're being drawn into the smoke or the last sort of ending things, energetic ties perhaps, that would tell you that there's danger or fear or whatever it is, right? Like the smoke signals, right? And pay attention to that, because something about smoke that I think is interesting is that, first of all, if it's white, if the smoke is white, that means the fire is out. If the smoke is dark and black and gray, it means that the fire is still burning. And there was also a message yesterday here about, if you've seen those videos where it's like right after you blow out a candle, if you put a lighter to the smoke trail, that smoke trail can be, or that the flame can be relit, the candle can be relit by following that smoke trail back down. Does that make sense? So I feel like there's this element here of like, with the Reflection of like, make sure that you don't relight sort of a flame that you don't want to relight, right? Because it's like you're about to step into this new portal, this new step, this new adventure. But I feel like because of that sort of fear barrier, there is this sort of element of like, if you don't allow the smoke to clear. If you put that flame close to, if you put your energy or your attention back onto that smoke, the thing that's been put out, then there is sort of a risk of relighting that flame or that trigger or that connection that you don't want to relight, if that makes sense. So the thing that you are being asked to focus on or to grow is this rebirth energy, where I've been talking about, where with the hand and this sort of blue circle, it's like when you're manifesting, you have sort of a general idea of what it is that you want to manifest, right? With this, that's represented by the blue circle. You have a general idea, or you have a vision, you have a thought, you have an inspiration, and then what's happening for you now, what it is that you're being asked to focus on or grow, is this new, very physical manifestation that is a match to what it is that you were manifesting, right? It's like they're both blue circles. This one is physical and real, and you can touch it, and it's in your hand. And to focus on that, because there's a danger here, or not a danger, I don't want to say it's a danger, because you have the confidence, strength, and determination. It's like you have it. It's on your doorstep. Don't turn away from it, is what it's talking about. Don't turn away from it. Okay, and then you also have here the emotions and discernment, right? I talk about this emotions card. I feel like the Taurus reading is going to be relevant for you, because there's a lot of the similar cards here of being sort of drawn into something that is just gorgeous, like a beautiful light display, that kind of thing. And it's like you spent a lot of time here, perhaps more time than you thought that you would, because it was so alluring, right? And it could be related to your emotions in terms of like, perhaps there would, because I sometimes see this card as being like, sometimes we can get really drawn into feeling low, right? It's like people who've experienced depression, right? You stay there, there's a potential to stay in that energy for a really long time, because there is sort of some sort of allure and draw. And I know that that's kind of controversial to say, but it's this moon energy, right? There is a draw to this sort of full moon energy. But if we don't sort of move on or let it go or release whatever that sort of allure is, we can get stuck in it, right? We can get stuck in that sort of cycle. And that's sort of what this is talking about, is to use discernment of like, there are elements in your perhaps emotions that you have to just let go, right? With this energy here, there are also elements that you are being asked to focus on. And what it is that you're being asked to focus on is trust and sweetness, right? Very simple, happy, like almost like the simplest pleasures that you can experience in your physical realm will be what it is that helps you move on, help you to let go of any sort of attachment that may be keeping you back and allow you to move forward into whatever this new manifestation is. It's like focus on, for me, that's color, right? It's like whenever I feel like low or sad or whatever it is, I always just look for the most colorful things that I can possibly find, right? It's like I purposely look for color in my environment. It could be something different for you. It's funny because I chose a white shirt today. It's like the opposite of that. I like turn to the things that bring you the simplest joys is basically what this is talking about. It's like here you may be in a period of resistance with this two of materials, but it's like you're actually at success, right? It's like it feels like you think that you're at this sort of like two of materials, which is the beginning, but what you actually are, it's like you're at this point of the cycle with the faith card. Look at all this like circular kind of energy. You're at a success point, Virgo, and I feel like you don't know that. With this two of emotion, or the two of voices, right? This is the opposite of clarity. It's pulling, because it feels like there's like two energies almost pulling at you. It's like there's the past energy that's pulling at you, and there's a future that's pulling you forward. And I feel like you're wanting to go forward, but there's still some sort of connection or tie that is trying to draw you back in some way. Perhaps because you're moving forward. It could even be your own, because the two of voices talks about indecision, right? Internal sort of struggle. There may be that kind of element within yourself as well. But again, it's like the Seven of Materials talks about focusing on the forward path. I feel like you've done a lot of planting seeds already, right? It's like if you do look back at all of the sort of work, the positive work that you've done to get yourself to this point, because I feel like that's what's blooming now. It's like your plants are blooming, your manifestations are arriving, and there's this energy of like doubting it. I don't know what's wrong with that. I don't know why that is. Anyways, here you have Seven of Inspiration. A Seven of Inspiration, which talks about having to sort of like two sevens after each other, right? Having to really sort of maintain this energetic boundary between you and other people's energies, or energies that are just not yours, right? Through discernment. Because I feel like there's this, but it's also pushing through the fear, right? Like holding back any sort of energies that may be causing fear so that you can step through it, you can go through to the next side. And then what this is talking about, the Page of Inspiration, because this is this ecstasy parrot energy as well with the colors, right? It's talking about having fun, right? Having a lot of new things to play with, like creativity as well. It talks to me about like when you're in something new, having just sort of that light, playful, almost like childlike joy of just discovery and learning, that kind of thing, with the Ace of Inspiration as well. So you have 3 aces in your reading today. So absolutely you're at like this new fresh start kind of energy, and it's the only thing for you is like taking a small step forward into whatever this new thing is. It's going through like the energy of like the moon. It's the moon stepping in onto the moon, right? It's like one small step. What is the line? One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. I feel like that's absolutely your energy today. Okay, Virgo, we're gonna end with the Moonology card. So the first one out says it's time to take action. New moon in Aries. You have to be the one to take the step forward, Virgo, in this situation. I feel like that's really important for you, to step through whatever that fear barrier is. And then the energy is gaining momentum, the waxing moon. The answers that you need are coming, full moon in Gemini. A personal issue reaches resolution, then the full moon in Cancer. So again, check out that Cancer reading if that's relevant to you. And then hold your vision, the fixed moon. All right, Virgo, I'm going to end it there. I do have other videos if you're interested in checking those out. Thanks so much for sharing your energy with me, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.